My name is James, and I was born in Christchurch, Aotearoa, New Zealand. I was raised for most of my life in Christchurch and grew up with a Christian background. Let me back up just a quick sec on that. I was actually baptized Ratana, which is the religious faith for the majority of our tangata whenua, which is the indigenous name for people of the land. And then about 1970 and 1980, my mother became a born-again Christian, and then soon after that, I followed suit, and then my father also became a born-again Christian. So we grew up in a really staunch Christian background. At that time, I knew absolutely nothing about Islam. So I can't. I knew of the Middle East, and I knew one of my aunties happened to marry a man from Syria. So as far as trying to place Islam there, I had no knowledge at all. When I was in my early 20s, I went to university in the United States, and one of my classes was a religious study class. So I learnt a little bit about Islam during that time of our studies. After I finished university, the religious part of my studies didn't go quite as planned for me. I originally started to study for to become a youth minister, and then halfway through my studies, I moved to business and ended up as a financial advisor. So after university and spending 20 years in the United States, religion kind of sat a little bit on the side. So my continued studies of Islam came to a halt, but my attendance at, let's say, a Pentecostal church or a non-denominational church was quite frequent. When I returned home 20 years later, that was in 2010, I still really had no idea about Islam. In 2015, some neighbors moved in next door to my mother, and I noticed that they were a little different, and knew that they were from abroad, and discovered that they were from Somalia. So, not really knowing too much about that country, I did a little bit of research, and of course, since we were a religious family, I wanted to see what the religion was there, and discovered that that particular family were Muslim. So it kind of piqued a little bit of interest in me to find out a little bit more. Church had been a big part of my life, and at certain parts of my life, very important. And I grew up understanding that Jesus was the Son of God. Pretty much the Western way of learning about religion. And I probably, like a few people in the world, it felt like I was in a little bit of a roller coaster when it came to being in, attending church, or staying in touch with our brothers and sisters, things like that. But in 2015, I was sharing with a whāngai sister of mine, and in our language, whāngai means adopted, so it's kind of my chosen sister. And I told her that I was interested in visiting the local mosque here. And the reason I mentioned it to her is she was from Damascus, and she knew quite a bit about Islam. And the comment she made to me was, well, that's great, because my son actually would like to visit the mosque too. So we had a little korero, a little talk, and I said to him, how about Uncle take you? Because I want to go have a look as well. So one day, I think it was a Sunday, we decided to take a drive and go visit the mosque. And there wasn't too many people there when we got there. There was a gentleman there who noticed that we were new on the property straight away and introduced himself. And unfortunately, I can't remember his name, but I do know that he was part of one of the brothers that we lost. And anyhow, he started talking to us about Islam. And again, myself, I started to ask, a lot of questions. What was the meaning behind Islam? What do Muslims believe? And my nephew and I were both very excited to talk to him because he was so forthcoming and real easy to chat with. And he reminded us of our own uncle. He looked like us, and so it made it real easy for us to communicate with him. So he invited us to come back later or the following Sunday to attend one of Papa Farid Ahmed's classes, because he teaches about on Sundays he takes a class, and he said, "Why don't you come back next Sunday and visit and attend one of our classes that we have?" So I looked at my nephew and he nodded his head and I nodded my head, and we were just making our way back to our car, and he said, "Wait, before you go, do you want to become Muslim today?" And usually it happened also quickly. I'm someone that kind of has to spend a little bit of time thinking about something. And I looked at my nephew and he's nodding his head. So before we left, we became Muslim. So we kind of chuckled to ourselves and we were like, did we just do that? And we did. So we felt very happy with inside our soul and our spirit. And if nobody knew us, you could see we had a smile from like ear to ear. We really didn't have a big concept on what really just happened, but whatever it was, it turned our life in that quick second upside down and around in circles. And we just, for myself, I'm a pretty emotional person and quite sensitive to a lot of things around me, and so it was really, really warm and fulfilling in that short time. So we got in our car and made plans to come back the next Sunday to see Papa Farid for his class. So we showed up on the Sunday together, and there we actually went through the motion again. And Papa Farid gave me my Muslim name, and that is Jamal. And from that moment on, we kept attending the classes and learning more and more and more. I discovered, though, during that time, it was a little bit difficult for us because there were not very many reverts within the masjid that I saw, and there definitely weren't very many Māori people there at the time that I started attending. And it's kind of as a result of that, I ended up stepping back a little bit, which was my mistake, but at the same time, that's what kind of it happens. And I hopped off the journey for a bit because I lost contact with a few people, and that played a part on both sides. So to kind of my advice to people is don't be shy when you're in the masjid and you feel like you're all alone, because it took me many years to finally learn that there's so many ethnicities within the masjid that it's difficult for them also to possibly approach us. You know, our faith makes us humble people and very approachable people. But when you're in a new environment, we're human. And so it does make us a little bit, in my language, we would say whakamā, which means shy and a little bit embarrassed. So what I learned is, and what I share with other people who are new, who come, is, you know, go up and introduce yourself to people. Go up and introduce yourself to the brothers that are in there with you. And that will make the communication between each other a lot more easier. You know, some brothers would come and greet, but there are some shy brothers, and just like ourselves, we're just as shy. So don't hesitate to introduce yourself to as many people as you can, and then your time at the masjid becomes even more special. So I am, as I said at the beginning, Māori, which is tangata whenua, people of the land, and we have a way of marking ourselves to explain our whakapapa, which is our genealogy. And men can get that tattooed on their face, and we call that mataora. So we can get a half done, or you can get a complete facial done. The difference usually between having a complete facial done to a half is depending on sometimes what you have accomplished. Men, like I said, will get it completely on their face or half, and our wahine, our women, will get it just on their chin. The representation of it is, for example, on this side is my papa, and on this side represents my mama, and this side represents me. So basically they tell us as a people that we have our whakapapa underneath our skin already, and the artist is just bringing it out. So for me, the reason why I wanted to show my whakapapa on the outside is because, one, I'm definitely proud of who I am and where I come from, and I want to participate in the revitalization of our taonga for tangata whenua. When I first became Muslim, I didn't really share it with too many people. And now, sometimes when I look back, I wish I had done things a little bit different when it came to that. The biggest reason for me is that I was really worried and afraid of what my mama and my papa were going to think. Now, we'd already lost Dad. My papa had passed in 2012, but I was still a little bit apprehensive, and I was definitely worried about what my whānau would think, and my mum particularly. We grew up in a family that, as children, we always tried to ensure that our decision-making was number one, was done very well, because we were really worried that our decisions, if they came across negative, were always going to be a result of what people thought of our parents. And Māori particularly, we are our elders and our whānau and our parents, what they think of what we do and our decisions we make are very important to us. So I didn't share it for a really long time. My friends, majority of them were quite okay. And I didn't have any difficulties I lost no friends, absolutely no friends. And they said, you know, James, whatever your path is or journey is, we'll support you. So that was in 2015 when I became Muslim. Last year, 2016, 22, I told my mother. So I had a beautiful gift from Allah to be able to attend Hajj. And as a result of that, I brought my whānau together and I shared with them that I will be going abroad to perform Hajj. So I explained to them what that was. And one of my uncles had made a comment during our whānau, our family meeting, and he said, "Wow, that's quite interesting and exciting for you that you're going and you're not even Muslim." And from that moment, the fear just completely dropped, and I said, "Oops, Mama," and Mama always comes first when it comes to sharing. I said, "Mama, I need to talk to you immediately and right now." And so we went off into a private room, and I said, "Mama, I'm about to tell you something that I have not been able to share with you. And it's been a big part of my life, and I have been afraid to share it with you. But now, because Uncle has made a comment, and because I have a gift of being able to fulfill one of our pillars of Islam, I said, it's time for me to explain why." I said, in 2015, I became Muslim. And I was a little bit nervous, and my feet were tapping, and I was waiting for my mama's response. And she's, "In 2015? I said, "Yes." And she says, "Oh, my James, why did you wait so long to tell me?" She says, "If that's the journey that you want to take, then Mama's okay with that, and I will support you all the way." So, sometimes we think we know our parents, but a lot of times we don't. And as a result of that, my shoulders that used to be heavy were completely as light as a feather. And Mum just held me and says, "So we're not going to do that again, are we?" I said, "No, Mum." So she was very, very happy and wanted to know more about my faith, and she was very supportive, and the rest of my whānau very supportive of me going off to celebrate Hajj. Islam has changed my not just my whole life. It's made it more peaceful. I struggled a lot, and I know a lot of people have struggled a lot, but I struggled quite a bit growing up as a child. I had a fantastic upbringing. My childhood was great. My parents were beautiful parents. But outside of my parents, there was a few things that happened in my life that they weren't aware of, that made me make the decision to study abroad and not come back home to New Zealand, because I didn't want to be around certain things that happened, and I chose to stay away. When it was time for me to come home, that was only because my mother asked me to. She said, "James, it's time for you to come home. Can you come home?" And I said, "Okay, Mum." And part of coming home was to also grab the fears by the horns, and that was difficult. So when I came home, my difficulties that I had in the States were still here with me, and I struggled still in New Zealand when I came home. 20 years later, I was still dealing with the same thing. When I became Muslim, I knew exactly what I needed to do to help myself lose those fears of certain people and the events that happened to my life that put me in a really dark place and spiraled my life down and down and down. So Islam gave me a sense of peace and gave me um, the strength to be able to say, I'm giving this back to them, and it's no longer my problem. I wouldn't have been able to do that otherwise, because I've been carrying this for over 20 years, these problems. And from that point on, I have been able to look at myself in the mirror and go, it's okay. It's all right. And so whenever something happens in my life that seems like the world is turned upside down, I make dua, and I just know it's going to be okay. You know, even though it's a tough world out there, things are going to be okay. Allah will take care of those things for us. I think, from my perspective, as far as what Islam can offer, is the part that I mentioned, the journey of my life, where I felt I was in a dark place. As soon as I became a Muslim, it was like that dark place was no longer. Now, don't get me wrong, we still have those times in our life, but they weren't so tragic, and they were more. I was able to focus myself, pick up the Quran, make dua, say my prayers, and during that time, it helps, and it really takes away some of those painful moments. The other thing is too, is that you have a direction in your life. Being Māori, we have what we call Te Ao Māori, which is the world of Māori, our culture, and also Islam in my life, right? So to our Māori people particularly, just because you become a Muslim doesn't take away being Māori. We combine them both, basically. So you are, what I've done is I've taken Te Ao Māori, I've taken my Māori culture, and I've taken Islam and my faith, and I've brought the two together. And by doing so, it makes it right, for me. One thing I've heard some of my Māori brothers say is that, they're worried that they might lose their identity as tangata whenua by becoming a Muslim. I said it doesn't happen that way. Islam is our faith, and being Māori is our culture, and also in a roundabout way, our belief system as well. But if we respectfully bring both together and have Allah and have our culture, then we can't go wrong. There's no major issues at all being Māori and being a Muslim, and there's no major issues that I know of being Kiwi and being a Muslim. It's all I know. So, the only differences are the ethnicities and the cultures that all come together as Muslim, practicing our faith. So, because we're not, I guess, the only thing I could mention with it is because we're a different, because we're not born Muslim, and New Zealand has so many different religions here, and particularly, from our Catholics to our Anglican, a huge community of them, and in my whānau, our Christian faith. Being a Kiwi Muslim is no different from being a Christian. They have their faith, and we have our faith. My experience was very distant, but very close. The reason being is that when I say distant, I was working at the hospital at the time, and so being at the masjid on that particular horrific day, I wasn't there. So my role at that time at the hospital was security, and the part where I mentioned being close was because I had so many people, friends that I knew who would have been at the masjid during Juma, and that would have been Papa Freed and his family, Sister Aisha, a couple of other brothers that I were friends with there. So knowing that was happening and being away was definitely heartbreaking. I had also, during that time, like I had mentioned earlier, stepped away from attending the masjid quite a bit. And I guess during and after that time, those times definitely make you reevaluate. It's time to go back. And your brothers and sisters need you, and it's a place that you need to be. And, you know, as a Kiwi, and as being Maori for us, we have a really closeness with, our Muslim community. We're very similar when it comes to being Maori and when it comes to being Muslim, or any of the countries that are Muslim. We're almost cousins when it comes to our understanding of family, our understanding of belief, and our understanding of our community and particularly our world. And so, as a Māori and as our Muslim whānau, our main identity together that brings us together really, really easy is that we have a real love for our own whānau and our own family members, and we merge that way really well. We get on really well that way. Okay, so the best thing about it and the least thing about it, there was no least thing about it. It was definitely the best from the moment I heard. I was going to say from day one arriving, but no, from the moment I heard on the telephone that I was given an invite to go to, even to now. You know, it was an experience that is so hard to explain because it was, you were I was in such a holy place, right? And I couldn't stop looking up during the most of my time there. And once in a while, I'd just run into things because I was just looking up around because I couldn't believe that I was where our prophet was, peace be upon him. But I was, and here I am, a young Māori fella, come all the way from New Zealand to have the opportunity to do something miraculous like attend Hajj. The people there were absolutely beautiful. Those that took care of us were beautiful. The experience was breathtaking and beautiful. I struggled a little bit just because of my health, but when I looked around at the other people that had come from countries that weren't too far away, some of them were so much older than myself, and they were making it work. They were doing the work, and they were doing the journey. And I thought, there's nothing that I can complain about. So, you know, I just got up there with them and started. But I would encourage anybody that has that opportunity to to go to Hajj, definitely go, because it turns your life upside down in a positive, beautiful way. I didn't want to come home at all. I could see myself being there for ever and ever. The only thing is my wife said I wasn't allowed to. But I'll just wrap it up. Hajj was the most powerful, God-given experience that I will ever have in my whole entire life, I think. And I'm very grateful for those people who gave us the opportunity to go. For those that are afraid of Islam or afraid of Muslims because of what you've heard or read or seen, my 2 cents, and it's only 2 cents, is we are no different to anybody else. And the only way that that's going to change and those fears that you might have are going to change is if you take maybe a moment and visit a masjid. Take a moment and maybe if you run into somebody that you think is is Muslim, ask some questions. You might find a meeting. We hold here in Christchurch by the help of Papa Farid Ahmed, Unity and Diversity, and that brings so many people of all nationalities, of all religions together. And we created that after the 2015 tragedy, so that we could help create peace and send peace, kind of like a ripple effect, and spread it across the Mutu, across New Zealand. And then by bringing people from abroad to our the event that we hold every year, that they'll take that ripple effect and it'll drift over to their country as well, and so that peace can travel around the world. So if you have an opportunity to go to Unity and Diversity event, such as this, or another event that might be happening in your township, again, the only way that you're going to be able to close that fear is by attending those. But visit a masjid and you'll find that the people that are there are beautiful and peaceful people.
My beloved brothers and sisters, call non-Muslims to Islam through sincerity, kindness, and good behavior. Many people form their understanding of Islam by watching how Muslims live their lives. When your actions reflect honesty, patience, and mercy, the message of Islam becomes clear without many words. Treat everyone with respect and warmth, regardless of differences in belief. Speak gently, listen carefully, and avoid arguments. A friendly attitude and good manners can make people feel comfortable and open to learning about Islam. Remember that only Allah guides hearts. Your responsibility is to represent Islam in the best possible way. A simple act of kindness, fairness in dealings, or sincere conversation can leave a lasting impression and spark interest. Allah rewards every effort done sincerely for His sake, even if someone does not accept Islam immediately. Your kindness is still rewarded. Be patient, be sincere, and continue showing the beauty of Islam through your character.